Radhika, welcome to Yinchuan. Thanks for taking a few minutes. What I'd like to start off with is just getting your views on what a smart city is.
Look, from a smart city perspective, I think there's so many definitions, and there isn't, I think, any one definition. But when I think about a smart city, I think that you've got to think about the people that live in that city. It's not about just an ROI. It's about how do you have happier citizens? How do you get them to like to live in the cities? Because we have already heard that there's 2 billion more people moving to the cities in the next 30 years. 2 billion, right? And we have 3.5 billion right now in cities. So I mean, it's like a mind-numbing number. And even when you think of what was shared today for just China, 250 million more people in the next 5 to 10 years. That's like all of America moving to a city in less than 10 years. I mean, it's just too big and unimaginable and daunting a task as it sounds. So, smart cities, I think, is about technology and connectivity. It's about happy people. It is about sustainability in terms of how do you basically use the world's scarce resources a lot more judiciously, and uh, transportation has become a big challenge. I mean, do we get back to getting people on the streets, walking, biking? What is the ramification of that when the city itself is sprawling? So there's many facets: energy, utilities, transportation. Technology, of course, underpins all of that, and it all has to be to make people happy.
And what do you think is going to be the biggest change to cities that comes about through the implementation of the smart city technologies?
There's numerous cities. I'll take some examples of things that are going on in the US that I'm familiar with. But nothing I see as comprehensive as what I see here in Yinchuan, which is a little bit more top down and touching pretty much all aspects of life, if you will. But in the US, we see, Charlotte is one example of a city in North Carolina that basically says zero waste of energy and water. That's the goal. Denver is trying to look at how to make it much easier to park for its citizens. New York is basically looking at how to become like Silicon Valley, if you will. So there is Silicon Alley, and there is investment in a lot of new technology institutes, and the mayor has taken personal interest in increasing high-tech capability in the city itself. So when I look at what smart cities are doing today, each one is trying to attack one aspect. West Coast is a lot more about conserving water. East Coast is about transportation, getting high-tech, and some of the other states are looking more at sustainability. So there's different pieces that are going on, but it all starts with somebody that leads a city and has a vision for the city about really improving the user experience of the communities that live in that city. And when you have that, and an ROI is understood, and there is access to some sort of a funding or a public-private partnership, then I think the rest of the ecosystem starts to come in and work together to make it happen.
And your takeaway, your main takeaway from the event so far, what would that be?
So, I mean, I have multiple takeaways. I don't know if there's like one takeaway, and not having seen all of it, I'm fascinated by the experimentation concept that Bristol has. And, how do you invite other cities to try out their ideas in some of these smart city beds, if you will, and then implement them back at scale, I think is a fascinating concept. I was chatting with a fellow partner on the table who actually has a legal background, and we were talking about regulation, always time shifted, 10, 20 years sometimes behind what innovation and disruption is going on. So how do we basically get legal sort of embedded in every aspect of it, where legal supports the innovation versus becoming a hindrance of innovation? I'm fascinated by what the CTO at LA was talking about in terms of leveraging the power of data to just get crowdsourced information from the people for the city's benefits. And then, of course, Yinchuan itself, I had a chance to tour their smart community and their citizens hall and so on. I think there's a little of all of it that we can take back and figure out how we bring more people together and create more innovation beds so that we can collectively benefit from the innovation.
Okay, well, it's fantastic for taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.